Someone buried something on this island that they did not want found, and then they built a machine to make sure it stayed that way. Oak Island, a 140-acre spit of land off the coast of Nova Scotia, Canada. It has no strategic value, no natural resources, no reason to be remembered. And yet, for over 230 years, men have come here and refused to leave without answers. Some never left at all. The documented history begins in 1795. A teenager named Daniel McGinnis rode to the island alone and found a circular depression in the earth beneath an ancient oak tree. He returned with two friends. They began to dig. At 10 feet, they struck a platform of hand-fitted oak logs sealed tight across the shaft. They removed it. Below, more earth. At 20 feet, another platform. At 30 feet, another, evenly spaced, precisely constructed. Someone had been here before them. The boys could not continue alone. They left. But Daniel McGinnis came back. He always came back. He would spend the rest of his life on this island. In 1803, the Onslow Company arrived with funding and equipment. At 90 feet, they found something no one had expected, a flat stone, inscribed with symbols no one could read. The inscription was later translated by a professor at Halifax as reading, 40 feet below, 2 million pounds are buried. No original stone survives today. The next morning, the pit flooded, 90 feet of seawater, overnight. The crew pumped for days. The water did not drop. It was as if the island itself had swallowed the shaft. They drilled instead. At 98 feet, the drill passed through a void, then something solid, then loose metal, then wood again. The foreman recorded that the bit brought up 3 links of a gold chain. No further mention of the chain appears in any company record. The Onslow Company withdrew. The pit remained flooded. The shaft sealed itself as though it had never been opened. What no one understood yet, what would take decades to discover, was that the flooding was not accidental. It had been engineered. From the journal, the men do not yet understand what they have touched. The water is not a flaw in the design. The water is the design. Subsequent excavations confirmed it. 5 separate flood tunnels had been cut from the beach to the pit, running horizontally beneath the island's surface. The tunnels were lined with coconut fiber, a material not native to Nova Scotia or anywhere within thousands of miles of it. From the journal, the fiber was brought from a great distance. Everything here was brought from a great distance. This place was chosen, not found. The beaches of Smith's Cove, just east of the pit, were later found to be artificial. Layers of coconut fiber and eel grass, arranged to act as a natural sponge, funneling tidal water directly into the flood system. Whoever built this did not simply dig a hole and hide something inside it. They reshaped the hydrology of an entire island. The scale of the engineering is difficult to accept. This was not improvised. It was planned, precisely, by someone who understood tidal mechanics centuries before the term existed. From the journal, the tide does not betray them, the tide obeys them. I have walked the length of the tunnels. No tool I know could have made them. Geologist Robert Dunfield surveyed the island in 1965. He identified at least 2 distinct flood tunnel entry points at Smith's Cove, both cut at precise angles to maximize tidal pressure. From the journal, Dunfield does not ask who, he asks how. I think that is the wrong question. The how is extraordinary, but the who is impossible. No civilization with documented presence in Nova Scotia before European contact possessed the engineering knowledge to construct this system. No known European expedition in the region predates 1795 by enough to explain it. The coconut fiber alone is a problem that no researcher has ever satisfactorily resolved. The nearest natural source is over 3,000 miles away. From the journal, I held a piece of the fiber in my hand. It was old, but not crumbling. Whatever preserved it was not the climate. The climate here destroys everything. Carbon dating performed in the 1990s placed some of the fiber samples between 1200 and 400 C centuries, before any European vessel is recorded in these waters. The implications were not published widely. They still are not discussed in mainstream archaeological literature. Oak Island does not appear in most academic surveys of North American pre-contact history. From the journal, they leave it out because they cannot place it. A thing that does not fit the timeline is easier to omit than to explain. By the late 1800s, a new wave of investors had arrived. They brought better equipment, deeper ambitions, and the same result. The Truro Company drilled 6 separate boreholes in 1849. Each one passed through the same sequence: wood, void, loose metal, wood again. From the journal, 6 holes, 6 conformations. Whatever lies below is not a single object. It is a collection, arranged, deliberate, almost ceremonial. Almost. One borehole returned something unexpected, a small quantity of loose material that the foreman described only as soft and yellow. It was not catalogued. The Truro Company collapsed financially before a second season. Their records were sold, dispersed, and partially lost. The yellow material is never mentioned again. From the journal, the records do not disappear by accident. I have now seen this pattern 4 times. The closer a company gets, the less survives of what they found. The Joel motion. In 1861, the Oak Island Association attempted to pump the pit dry using a steam-powered engine. The boiler exploded. 1 man was killed. It was the first recorded death on the island. It would not be the last. Over the following century, 5 more men would die on Oak Island, by drowning, by accident, by causes that resisted easy explanation. From the journal, 6 deaths. The island does not threaten. It simply continues, and the men keep coming, as though the place calls to something in them they cannot name. A local legend recorded in the 1860s held that 7 men must die before the treasure reveals itself. After 6 deaths, no one on the island speaks that number lightly. In 1897, the Oak Island Treasure Company lowered a camera into the flooded shaft. What the photographs showed was never released to the public. From the journal, the photographs exist. I have spoken with a man who held them. He described a chamber. He described shapes inside it. He would not describe them further. The company's lead engineer, Frederick Blair, spent the next 40 years of his life attempting to retrieve whatever the camera had captured. He died without reaching it. Blair's personal correspondence, archived in Halifax, reveals something his public statements never did. He believed the pit was not a vault. He believed it was a message. From the journal, Blair wrote, "The pit is not meant to be opened. It is meant to be found, over and over, by whoever comes next. That is the purpose." In 1909, a young Franklin Delano Roosevelt joined an expedition to Oak Island as a private investor. He was 27 years old. He kept a diary of his time there. Roosevelt's diary entries from Oak Island are among the few from that period that survive intact. He returned to the subject of the island in private letters as late as 1939. From the journal, Roosevelt asked the same question every serious man asks here, not what is buried, but who had the authority to bury it, who gave the order. The theories are numerous and well documented. Templar treasure, Masonic archives, Francis Bacon's manuscripts, Spanish galleon gold, even Inca artifacts transported north. What unites all of them is a single uncomfortable fact. Every theory requires a level of pre-medieval or early, modern maritime capability that no accepted history can account for. And yet the engineering exists. The tunnels are real. The fiber is real. Someone moved materials across an ocean and reshaped an island, and no accepted history has a name for them. From the journal, every theory names a different builder. But every theory agrees on one thing. Whoever they were, they did not expect to be forgotten. They expected to be found. In 1931, a man named Gilbert Hedden purchased the eastern portion of Oak Island. He was a steel manufacturer from New Jersey, methodical, skeptical, not given to fantasy. Hedden spent 3 years and most of his personal fortune on the island. What changed him was not what he found in the pit. It was what he found on the surface. From the journal, Hedden found markers, stone alignments along the island's southern shore, precisely spaced, oriented to a point in the water no natural formation could explain. The alignments were surveyed, but never formally published. Hedden's field notes referenced them in passing, as though he was uncertain whether to trust what he had measured. From the journal, he measured them 3 times. The spacing was not approximate. It was exact to a unit of measurement no one on this island was using in 1795. Hedden eventually wrote to Harold T. Wilkins, a British author who had published maps of supposed pirate treasure locations. One of Wilkins's maps bore an unsettling resemblance to Oak Island's layout. From the journal, Wilkins claimed the map came from an older source he could not name. Hedden recognized the island immediately. He said it was like seeing a photograph of a place you have only visited in dreams. Wilkins never explained his source. The map's origin was not traced in his lifetime. After his death, the relevant papers were not found among his estate. In 1965, Robert Restall, a former circus stuntman turned treasure hunter, descended into a ventilation shaft on Oak Island. He did not come back up. 3 men went down after him. None survived. The cause was recorded as hydrogen sulfide gas, but the ventilation shaft had been open for weeks. From the journal, 4 men in a single afternoon. The island did not change. The work resumed the following season. I do not know what to call that kind of pull. The deaths now numbered 6, exactly as the old legend had predicted. The island's work continued as though the number had always been part of the plan. From the journal, I have read the legend again. 7 must die before it opens. I do not think this is a warning. I think it is a condition, written in advance, by someone who knew. Cause. In 2003, a team using ground-penetrating radar identified a large void approximately 170 feet below the surface, deeper than any previous excavation had reached. From the journal, 170 feet, below the flood system, below the oak platforms, below everything they built to stop us. Whatever is there, they placed it last. The void has not been excavated. Every attempt to reach that depth triggers the flood system. The water rises faster than any pump yet deployed can remove it. From the journal, the system still works. After 600 years, or 800, it still works. That is perhaps the most remarkable fact of all. It was built to last longer than anyone looking for it. The island sits quietly in Mahone Bay. It does not announce itself. It has outlasted every company, every theory, every man who came certain he would be the one to open it. In 2006, a Michigan-based company called Triton Alliance released a partial analysis of water samples drawn from the lowest accessible chamber. The chemical signature was unlike anything found in the surrounding bay. From the journal, the water from below does not match the water above. Different salinity, different mineral content. As though it comes from somewhere else entirely, somewhere sealed for a very long time. The analysis was filed internally and never submitted for peer review. The company dissolved 2 years later. The samples themselves were not preserved. From the journal, this is the 5th time I have recorded the disappearance of physical evidence, not its destruction, its disappearance. There is a difference, and I believe it matters. Carbon dating performed on wood samples retrieved from the pit in the 1970s returned a range of dates spanning nearly 4 centuries, from 1490 to 1600s. No single construction event could account for the spread. E2 account from the journal, 4 centuries of wood. Either it was built in stages across generations, or the builders used timber that was already old when they placed it. Both possibilities are extraordinary. The island has now been under near-continuous investigation for over 200 years. More money has been spent here per square foot than almost any archaeological site on Earth, and the primary shaft remains unopened. From the journal, I have begun to wonder whether the pit was designed specifically for us, for a civilization with our ambition and our tools and our particular inability to stop. It is almost a portrait of us. The journal's final entry carries no date. It reads only, "I have found the 7th name." I will not write it here. If you are reading this, you already know the island found you first. I will have the part mind. The journal's owner has not been identified. The archive that held it has no record of its acquisition. It arrived, as so many things connected to Oak Island arrive, without explanation and without a clear point of origin. Oak Island still stands in Mahone Bay. The water still rises. The 7th name has never been written down, at least not in any document that has survived. Every generation sends new men to the island. Every generation loses something there: money, time, certainty, occasionally a life. The island returns nothing it has taken. What was buried there, if anything was buried at all, has had more than 2 centuries to wait. Whatever it has proven more patient than every person who has come looking for it. The pit remains sealed. The journal remains unattributed. And somewhere below 170 feet of engineered darkness, something continues to wait, exactly as it was designed to.